Hey, what's going on, guys? NextGenNel here. In today's video, we're going to be talking about a huge bombshell drop of info that Bungie released yesterday, some of which that we're going to cover today will include master difficulty dungeons and raids being brought into the game, as well as 3-peaking addressing and trials, and how sunsetting itself managed to get sunset. So, let's also talk about one unfortunate thing that ended up happening, and due to the pandemic, the newest DLC that we were going to have released this fall, Witch Queen, did end up getting delayed from fall of 2021 to the beginning of 2022. I believe they said this was due to the pandemic. They just didn't want to release a half-baked content drop. They saw what happened with Trials, and they just didn't want to repeat of that. They want to make it as big and, if not better than Taken King, is what I'm hoping for. So on the brighter side of news, Bungie did also end up addressing Lightfall, and they said that that will not be the last major expansion for the Destiny 2 franchise or Destiny 2 game. So those of you who might have been worried that, Destiny 2 might be coming to a close around Lightfall, you don't need to worry about that anymore because there's going to be another major expansion coming out after that. Okay, so while we're on the discussion of seasons and DLCs and stuff like that, I also wanted to talk about the power grind. Bungie's going to be making adjustments to it. So during major expansions and stuff like that, we can still see massive power increases at about 100 or so. I think is about the goal that they're going to want to stick with major expansions. And they did say for smaller seasonal content, like Season of the Chosen, so on and so forth, we're only going to be seeing plus 10 power grinds now instead of plus 50. And I think that this is because some of the player base felt like it was a little too tedious to have to go through that grind, and they're just trying to make it a little bit more player friendly, so that way you can just dive straight into your pinnacles every new season and stuff like that, and you only really need to worry about the pinnacle grind. Alright, and while we're on the discussion of grinding the hell out of this game, one thing that Bungie did to help us out a lot, which I really can't thank them enough for, they sunsetting, dude. Like, honestly, when they first introduced it, I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. It's going to keep the game a little bit more fresh. It's going to constantly make people utilize different weapons and stuff. Boy, have I never been more wrong about anything. Sunsetting was awful, in my opinion. Like, it took away a lot of people's, hundreds and hundreds of hours people put into grinding for one weapon, unfortunately, and unfortunately some people got those weapons taken away, and I really feel like that hindered the experience, and they honestly solved that problem with the only weapons really running the Crucible being Recluse and Mountaintop, with those being out of the game. And, as much fun as I had using them, I could see that it was definitely a problem in competitive and stuff like that, that it was just such an overused meta that they had to do something about it, and I really can't give them enough credit to the way that they ended up approaching getting rid of sunsetting and stuff like that. I think that it was a really, really smart move, and I can't honestly give Bungie enough credit for that because it really gets me super pumped about the future that this game is going to have now. And I bet that a lot of the player base probably feels the same way about it. The thing that we do need to keep in mind, though, about this is the fact that even though they said that a lot of things aren't going to get sunset, they are going to be nerfing a lot of stuff. And I'm looking at you, Felt Winters, and Warmind Cells, and yes, that was an actual quote from the update that Bungie ended up releasing yesterday, so you guys can be expecting some sort of changes to both Warmind Cell builds and Felt Winter's Lie. Good luck to you if you end up using those, because hopefully they won't kill them too bad. Alright guys, so now that we've talked about some of the seasons and stuff like that, and what's going to be going on with Power Grind and how Sunset's been sunset, let's get into stuff that's going to be happening in Season 14. Season 14 is going to be huge for Destiny. First off, we're going to be getting a transmog system. Ada 1 is going to be coming back to the tower, and she's going to have an armor synthesis system, which basically, I believe the more you level up with her and stuff like that, the more that you complete with her, it's going to open up more of your collection for transmogrification, meaning that if you are wearing a set of armor that has really high stat rolls, you're going to be able to use armor synthesis or transmogrification to make your armor appear in a different way. So you can have your Guardian finally look however the hell you want it to, and it's going to be based off of collections. I cannot express how important this is. This isn't just off of, items that you've purchased from Eververse. It's not just ornament sets that you've purchased from Eververse. It is literally everything in your collections, so keep that in mind. Huge apparel changes coming next season, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Okay, so on top of the apparel changes that are going to be happening in Season 14 on a transmogrification level, we're also going to be getting changes to the shader system. So instead of basically having to carry like 50 shaders of a specific type of shader that you want, one shader will have infinite use, so you only need to carry the one on you. And it's not going to be like a super big pain in the butt to have to keep reacquiring them from collections over and over again and stuff like that. And if you've gilded a title more than once, it will actually show how many times that you've gilded the title, almost kind of like how an exponent appears on a number. So speaking of Season 14 and things that are going to be happening, probably one of the most exciting things is the fact that Vault of Glass and Venus are going to be coming back. So Vault of Glass is obviously Destiny's first ever raid that was introduced. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be super nostalgic, and it's just going to be great sorts of loot to be able to get some awesome guns and armor. Let's be real, the armor ornaments for that raid look sick. So the cool thing that they changed about it this time is the fact that in the first 24 hours, there's going to be a contest mode activated, like there have been the past couple raids that have released. And on top of the contest mode, there's going to be a world's first raid race. But this world's first raid race is going to be a little different. It's not just going to be completing the raid, but you're also going to have to complete a set of raid challenges to be able to acquire the raid belt. And yes, one team, the first team to complete this, is going to get a raid belt for Vault of Glass. Okay, so while we're on the topic of endgame content, dungeons, raids, and stuff like that, Bungie has actually said that they want to make master difficulty variations for the raids that are in the game because they love the engagement that the player base has had since they released Grandmaster Nightfalls, and the fact that you actually have something like, really difficult endgame content for PvE activities to be able to grind for, and how this season they've implemented adept variations of weapons within the strike playlist on Grandmaster Nightfall difficulties. They said they want to do a similar type of thing if they add master difficulties of dungeons and raids. So you can expect to see, a master version of Prophecy, Pit of Heresy, and you might be able to pull some adept weapons from those. Same thing goes with the raids, including Garden of Salvation, Last Wish, Deepstone Crypt. This could be really big. I know that maybe adept weapons themselves might not necessarily be something that everybody wants to grind for, but if you're more of a hardcore player and you kind of want to show your prowess with being able to get some of this endgame content done, then I'm sure that this is probably going to be right up your alley. And I also wanted to discuss with you guys some stuff that's going to be happening in Season 15. In Season 15, Bungie is going to be addressing 3-peaking in trials and in competitive play. So how they're going to be addressing this is the fact that you're not going to be allowed to use emotes within matches anymore. They straight up just disabled it. They said, no, you're not allowed to use emotes anymore, bro. And then on top of that, if you like a 3-peak with a sword like a cheeky little bugger, you're not going to be able to pull out your heavy weapon without ammo in it. So, you're going to have to find out some sort of a new cheeky way to, be able to get some sort of an advantage on the other team, unfortunately. But for those of you who really discourage 3-peaking and stuff like that and just like to play the game normally, then this is going to be a bit of positive news for you. And on top of that, I also wanted to discuss with you guys the fact that in Season 15, Bungie is also going to be introducing the first stasis weapons. We're going to be seeing stasis legendary weapons. Now, take this with a grain of salt, guys. Like, I don't work at Bungie, but I can assume that, solar weapons just don't go and burn you to death. Void weapons aren't just going to suppress you all the time, and arc weapons just don't sit there and electrocute you all the time. They might help with, being able to take out supers in that, of their matching subclass variant or elemental type variant, but I think that's about as far as it goes. So, as far as, somebody getting, a stasis assault rifle in their secondary slot, don't be afraid if you're going to get shot 5 or 10 times. You're not just going to start getting slowed up. It's going to be for stasis shields, and it's going to just be to add a little bit more variation into the game. So, if you guys were worried about stasis weapons all having the ability to freeze you, I would say don't overthink it in that regard. They're going to work just like normal elemental weapons are already working in the game. So, don't overthink it and don't stress yourselves out about it, because it's not worth it. Okay guys, so I did notice that I missed a couple of things that I wanted to go over before the end of the video in regards to Trials. So it looks like Bungie is also potentially going to be adding a solo queue for Trials, so that way you don't have to just continuously go up against stacks of sweats, you know what I mean, over and over again. It's being a brutal experience. On top of that, it looks like they're also looking at restructuring the reward system, because with the reward system that we have in place right now, it really incentivizes people to farm the first win on the card and reset your card over and over again. If you're just trying to go for like God roll loot or farm trials via tokens, then I've seen a lot of people say that that's one of the easier ways that you can go about doing it. And this, hopefully, with the restructuring of the reward system, will put a stop to that. And on top of that, hopefully opening a solo queue will incentivize more of the player base to maybe want to hop in, kind of like the Freelance Iron Banner and Freelance Competitive have done. And on top of that, I just I wanted to say that thank you to Bungie for listening. You know, that this bit of information that we were told yesterday about Season 14, 15, and future DLCs, trials, all of that stuff, this really felt like almost like a love letter, as cheesy as it sounds, to the community. And it's like, you know, hey guys, we've been listening. You know, we realize we really messed up with a couple of things, a couple of the directions that we went in with the game. We see your feedback has clearly shown that we made the wrong decisions, and we want to go about fixing that. And, you know, it takes, you know, as angry as some people might be with the game and the state of the game sometimes, you have to give credit where credit's due, and seeing them take responsibility for where they messed up, and at least they're being open and honest with us about what they want the future of the game to hold. And it's nice that they're allowing the community to help further structure what the future of this game is going to have, because it shows that they're not just listening to the big streamers, they're listening to everybody in the community. And we have to realize that there's millions of us, there's only hundreds of them. We got to work with them a little bit to try to make this game the best experience that we possibly can. And with that being said, I just want to say thank you guys for sticking around, checking out the news. Thank you, Bungie, for dropping that news, because it was huge. It was so nice to read. It was super refreshing, especially the part about sunsetting being sunset. I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. Please leave a rating down below if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a kick-ass rest of your day, and I'll catch you then.